I killed my brother with my own hands, but it wasn't murder, it was mercy. The stranger on the Amtrak from Philly to Penn Station knew that before I ever whispered a word, his eyes locking onto mine like he'd scripted the whole goddamn tragedy. And when he slid that crumpled flyer across the sticky tray table, volunteer for the future, Neuralink Trials, NYC, he didn't just offer escape. He handed me the keys to hell itself. That flyer changed everything. Or maybe it was the body that came with it. The one that wasn't mine. The one that let me crawl back from the grave I'd dug for myself in that Rust Belt town outside Pittsburgh. Blakely. That's who I was before the swap, before the betrayal cracked me open like a cheap safe. Now, I'm still Blakely in my head, but the world's got a new face to hate. And God help the man who put it there. The rain hammered the windows of that Amtrak car like it was trying to drown out the ghosts rattling around in my skull. I'd been staring at the same faded headline on my phone for an hour. Local man sentenced in fatal crash. Brother's betrayal? The words blurring into the kind of numb that comes after you've signed away your soul to a public defender who smelled like stale coffee and regret. 5 years. That's what they gave me for vehicular manslaughter. All because Tommy, my golden boy brother, the one who'd always been the favorite, the charmer, the heir, swore up and down that I'd been the one behind the wheel when that semi clipped us on I-76. Drunk, reckless, the works. Never mind that he'd been the one pounding shots at the dive bar off Route 30, celebrating his latest big break in the family business. Dad's construction empire, the one I'd slaved over blueprints for since high school, while Tommy schmoozed investors and golfed with city councilmen. I didn't fight it. Not really. The evidence was ironclad. His blood on the passenger seat, mine on the wheel from the airbag, and a dashcam Tommy had forgotten to mention that showed me climbing in after him, bleary-eyed from the fight we'd had about his latest screw-up. He'd embezzled from the company, funneled cash to some side hustle with Russian oligarch vibes, and when the auditors came sniffing, he pinned the crash on me as distraction. Blakely's always been unstable, he'd told the cops, his voice cracking just right on the 911 call. He was yelling about the money before we left the bar. Lies, all of it. But Dad believed him. Mom, too. In her morphine haze from the cancer that ate her last winter. So I took the fall. Pleaded out. 5 years in SCI Green. A concrete tomb where the days bleed into nights of fluorescent buzz and the distant screams of men breaking for good. Parole came early. Good behavior, they said. More like overcrowding and a bleeding heart board. I stepped out into the muggy July air of 24 with $200 in my pocket, a bus ticket to Philly, and a rage so cold it burned. Tommy was waiting for me, of course. Not at the gates, but on the news feeds I'd glimpsed in the prison library. Blakely Construction sold to a hedge fund, Tommy at the helm as interim CEO, flashing that shark smile at the press conference. Family's healing, he'd said. Healing. Like I was the tumor they'd excised. The train to New York was my Hail Mary. No plan, just the pull of the city like a magnet for the desperate. I slumped into a window seat, the kind that smells like old burgers and desperation, and that's when he sat down across from me. Mid-40s, maybe, with salt and pepper hair slicked back under a fedora that screamed, trying too hard, and eyes like polished obsidian, sharp, unblinking. He didn't say a word at first, just pulled out a thermos and poured black coffee into a tin mug, the steam curling up like smoke signals. You look like a man who's buried his own grave, he said finally, voice low and gravelly, like he'd gargled with whiskey and regret. I froze, my reflection in the window showing a gaunt face with prison tattoos creeping up my neck. Crude ink from a guy named Rico who'd done 10 for armed robbery. How the hell did he know? I hadn't spoken to a soul since the bus. Spare me the TED Talk, I muttered, turning away. But he chuckled, a sound like dry leaves under boots, and slid a business card across the tray. No name, just Elysium Project in embossed silver and a number with a 212 area code. We're always looking for volunteers. Men like you. Broken, but not beyond repair. I should have tossed it. But something in his stare hooked me, like he saw the ledger in my head. Tommy's betrayal, Dad's silence, the crash that should have been his end, not mine. What makes you think I'm broken? I asked, voice cracking despite myself. He leaned in, close enough I could smell the sandalwood on his collar. The way you hold that phone, brother. Like it's the only thing keeping the world from swallowing you. And that scar on your knuckle. From the ring you wore when you punched out your old man after the funeral? Yeah, I know your type. Life chews you up, spits you out in pieces. But pieces can be reassembled. Better. Stronger. My blood ran cold. That ring, Mom's wedding band, the one Dad melted down after she died. Gone after the fight where I called him out for letting Tommy walk free. How? I hadn't told a soul. The car lurched into a tunnel, lights flickering, and in that strobe, his face shifted, just for a second, like he was reading my goddamn mind. By the time we pulled into Penn Station, he'd talked me into it. Not with promises of cash or glory, but with the flyer. Neuralink trials, it read. Mind-machine interface. Restore what was lost. Sci-fi bullshit. But in the underbelly of New York, where billionaires played God with startups, it felt plausible. Desperate enough to try? Hell yes. I pocketed the card and stepped into the chaos of the station, the stranger's words echoing. Volunteering isn't giving up, Blakely. It's reloading. That night, in a flophouse off Times Square that reeked of piss and fried dough, I dreamed of the crash. Tommy's laugh as he floored it, swerving into the lane, bottle in hand. The semi's horn like Judgment Day. My hands on the wheel after, trying to steady us, but too late. Blood on the dash, his, mostly. And in the dream, the stranger was there, whispering, swap the driver. Swap the blame. I woke sweating, the card clutched in my fist. By dawn, I called the number. A voice like silk over steel answered, Elysium. We've been expecting you. The facility was tucked in a nondescript warehouse in Red Hook, Brooklyn, faded brick under the shadow of the old docks, where the East River lapped at pilings like it was hungry. Security was tight, retinal scan at the gate, then a van with blacked-out windows that deposited me in an underground level that hummed with the low throb of servers. Dr. Elias Crow, that's who greeted me, the stranger from the train, sans fedora, in a lab coat that screamed Ivy League arrogance. Blakely Hargrove, he said, shaking my hand with a grip like a vice. Your file precedes you. File, I echoed, stomach twisting. He smiled, thin and knowing. Public records are a bitch. But we dig deeper. Psychological profiles, neural maps from your intake at Green. You're a perfect candidate for the swap. Swap. There it was, casual as ordering coffee. Not just linking minds to machines, full transference. Consciousness upload, he called it, eyes gleaming like a televangelist. Project Elysium, body exchange protocol. You step into a new skin, leave the old one behind. Fresh start. No baggage. Bullshit, of course. But the demo room sold it. Pods like coffins, humming with blue light, volunteers, ghostly figures in gowns, emerging with dazed smiles. Irreversible, Crow admitted over coffee in his office, walls lined with patents and photos of him shaking hands with senators. But effective. Imagine waking up as someone else. No prison record. No family ghosts. Just opportunity. Opportunity. To what? I thought of Tommy, ensconced in the family mansion in Fox Chapel, toasting his rise with Dad's scotch. The betrayal festered like an open wound. He'd framed me not just for the crash, but for the embezzlement, whispering to the feds that I'd cooked the books to cover my gambling debts. Lies that cost me everything. The company, my name, my freedom. And the secret? The one I'd buried deeper than the plea deal? Tommy wasn't just drunk that night. He'd been high on something cut with fentanyl, a shipment he'd skimmed from a supplier tied to those Russian deals. The crash killed the driver of the semi, a father of 3 from Ohio. Manslaughter? Try accessory to murder. I'd confessed to driving to protect him, because blood's thicker, right? Wrong. He'd let me rot. Sign here, Crow said, sliding the waiver. And you'll be reborn. I signed. What the hell? Worst case, I end up a vegetable. Best, a ghost with teeth. The procedure was a blur, sedation, the pod's cold embrace, needles pricking like accusations. Then darkness, vast and echoing, voices overlapping, Crow's monotone, a text chatter, and beneath it, a whisper that sounded like Tommy's laugh. You're nothing without me, Blake. I woke screaming, but it wasn't my voice. Deeper, smoother. I bolted upright in a body that felt borrowed, taller, broader, hands without the calluses from years hauling rebar. Mirror across the pod, a face staring back, mid-30s, chiseled jaw, green eyes that didn't match my brown. Who the fuck am I? I rasped, voice like aged bourbon. Crow entered, clipboard in hand. Welcome to your new life, Mr. Harlan Voss. Tech entrepreneur. Net worth, 8 figures. No priors. Clean as a whistle. Harlan Voss. The name hit like a freight train. I'd read about him in prison rags, suicide last month, overdose in his Soho penthouse. Whispers of insider trading, a whistleblower who'd vanished. Voss had been in the trial too, a control subject who'd backed out last minute. Now his shell was mine, consciousness swapped in a blink. Blakely Hargrove's body. Donated to science. Or so Crow said with a wink. Anonymized. Poof. I flexed Voss's fingers, strong, unscarred. Power thrummed in the veins, like slipping into a Ferrari after years on a Schwinn. Why me? Why Voss? Crow's smile widened. Because Harlan owed me. And you. You need this more than he ever did. Use it. Harlan's got access, networks, accounts, grudges. Finish what he started. Grudges. The word lingered as they released me into the city, Voss's wallet fat with platinum cards, his Aston Martin purring in the garage. But the real hook? Crow's parting gift, an encrypted drive. Voss was digging into something big. A syndicate. Names you'll recognize. Tommy's name was on it. Not directly, but the shell company, the Russian ties. Voss had been bankrolling an investigation, one that traced back to Blakely Construction's investors. Tommy's partners. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it was a web, and I'd been the fly. That night, in Voss's penthouse overlooking the Hudson, I cracked the drive. Files upon files, wire transfers, photos of Tommy shaking hands with a ghost from my past. Victor Kane, Dad's old silent partner, the one who'd vanished after Mom's diagnosis with debts that smelled like mob money. Kane, presumed dead, but here he was, alive in grainy shots, pulling strings from a Cayman hideout. The crash? No accident. Kane had dosed Tommy's drink, forced the swerve to eliminate a loose end. Tommy knew too much about the laundering. But Tommy flipped, blamed me. And Kane? He owned the hedge fund that bought Dad's company. Power incarnate, the kind that buys judges and buries bodies. My new hands itched. Revenge wasn't a plan, it was oxygen. But controversial? Hell yes. Voss's life came with strings, a fiancée, Elena, sharp as a stiletto, who eyed me like I was a glitch when I stumbled through dinner at Le Bernardin. Harlan, you seem off, she said, her fork pausing over the foie gras. Lies piled up. I was Harlan now, but Blakely's ghosts whispered doubts. Did I sleep with her that night, to seal the cover? Yeah. Cold, mechanical, but necessary. Betrayal begets betrayal. First move, infiltrate. Voss's calendar had a gala at the Met, fundraiser for urban renewal, code for Kane's cronies, schmoozing donors. I went, Armani suit hugging this borrowed frame like a second skin. Tommy was there, of course, schmoozing a cluster of suits, his laugh booming over champagne flutes. Seeing him up close, in the flesh, after years of concrete walls, it was biblical. He looked older, softer around the middle, but the eyes, predatory, unchanged. I approached, Voss's voice smooth as I extended a hand. Thomas Hargrove? Harlan Voss. Heard great things about your firm's expansion. His grip was limp, surprise flickering. Voss. As in the Neuralink guy? Shit. Yeah, saw your TED Talk last year. Mind uploads, right? Wild stuff. We talked shop, me dropping Voss's lingo from the drive's notes. Blockchain this, AI ethics that. He ate it up, ego stroked. Blakely, my brother, he'd love this. Too bad he's, you know, a shrug, casual as discarding a napkin. Rage boiled, but I smiled. Heard the story. Tragic. But families, huh? Always complications. By evening's end, I'd slipped him a card, Voss's real one, with a back-channel number. Let's talk investments. Your Russian partners sound intriguing. He bit. Hook set. But the swap's toll hit hard that week. Nightmares bled through, Blakely's memories in Voss's synapses, flashes of the pod, Crow's voice. The mind fights back. Embrace it, or it consumes you. Elena noticed, pressing for details on my episode. I pushed her away. Too rough, leaving bruises on arms that weren't mine. Controversial? Abso-fucking-lutely. Was I saving her from the storm, or just too fractured to love? Debatable. Deeper I dove. Voss's safe held more. Audio of Kane, voice like oil on water, promising Tommy protection if he delivered the books. The embezzlement? Kane's idea, to crash the company and buy low. Tommy's cut, immunity. My fall, collateral. Decision time. Controversial as hell. Leak the files anonymously to the feds? Clean, but slow. Tommy walks with a plea. Or go personal. Burn it all down. Voss's resources as accelerant. I chose the fire. Met Tommy at a steakhouse in Midtown, Voss's treat. Steaks rare, scotch neat. He leaned in, conspiratorial. Those Russians, solid, but discreet. You in? I nodded, sliding a USB across the table. Dummy files, bait. Show me the real play. He did. Over cigars, the map unfolded. Kane's empire, laundering through construction bids, fake charities, even Neuralink knockoffs. Crow? Tangled in it. Elysium funded by dirty money. The swap? Not random. Voss had been closing in. Kane wanted him silenced. I was the perfect patsy, broken Blakely in a dead man's shoes. Betrayal squared. But now, I had the gun. The plan crystallized over that third scotch, the kind that turns rage into architecture. Tommy, oblivious, droned on about synergies and offshore leverage, his face flushed with the thrill of the con. I watched him, this stranger in my brother's skin, and felt the swap's dissonance peak. A phantom itch where Blakely's tattoos should be, memories of Green's yard fights clashing with Voss's boardroom battles. You're a visionary, Tom, I said, clinking glasses. But vision needs muscle. Ever think about going direct at the head, Kane? His eyes narrowed, cigar pausing mid-puff. Victor? Ghost story. Guy's been off-grid since 18. What? Faint. Heard whispers. Your old man's partner? Loose ends like that. They unravel. Tommy laughed, but it was brittle, the laugh of a man who'd sold his soul for a corner office. Dad's partner was a mark. Kane? Ancient history. Focus on the now. Your tech could launder cleaner than concrete. I let it hang, planting the seed. By dessert, creme brulee cracked like fragile alibis. He'd bitten, agreeing to a summit at Voss's upstate cabin. Neutral ground, he called it. Neutral my ass. That cabin, a glass-walled area on Lake George, was Voss's bolt hole, wired with hidden cams and a panic room stocked like Fort Knox. I'd spend the week prepping, hiring fixers from Voss's black book, ex-Mossad types who didn't ask questions for 7 figures, rigging the place with non-lethals, tranq darts, soundproof cells. No blood, if I could help it. Revenge isn't slaughter, it's surgery. Elena complicated things. She showed up unannounced 2 days later, key in hand, her perfume cutting through the penthouse's sterile air like an accusation. Harlan, talk to me. You've been a ghost since. Whatever that was. Her eyes, dark and searching, pinned me. Voss's memories flickered, lazy Sundays in bed, her laugh echoing off Hudson views. But Blakely's ghost snarled, trust no one. She's a liability. I pulled her close, Voss's charm autopilot. Business, babe. High stakes. Lies tumbled easy in this voice. Dinner at Per Se, promises of Paris. We ended up tangled in silk sheets, her nails raking shoulders that weren't scarred from prison shanks. Guilt hit post-climax, sour as bad whiskey. Was I using her, like Tommy used me? Or building a bridge to something real? Controversial as hell, sleeping with the dead man's girl to maintain cover, but damn if it didn't feel like atonement. She whispered secrets in the dark, Voss's doubts about Elysium, how Crow pressured him into the trial. He said it was revolutionary, but Harlan, you told me once it felt like selling your soul. Her fingers traced his chest. Promise me you're not in over your head. I promised. Broke it by dawn, slipping out to meet my first fixer, a wiry ex-cop named Ruiz who chain-smoked camels in a diner off Flatbush. Kane's a specter, he grunted over eggs. But tracks lead to a compound in the Keys. Off-grid, private airstrip. Tommy's you're in. Good. We grab him, squeeze, then flip to the old man. No killing. That was the line, controversial enough without crossing into monster territory. Trank him at the cabin, extract confession on tape, leak to press and feds. Tommy rots. Kane scatters. I vanish into Voss's fortune. Cleanish. But secrets have a way of clawing out. That night, Crow called. Settling in, Harlan? Or should I say, Blakely? My blood froze, phone slick in my palm. What the? Relax. The swap's not flawless. Echoes bleed through. Neural residue. You're broadcasting like a faulty radio. His laugh was silk over razor wire. But that's why you're perfect. Voss got too close to Kane's operation. You're motivated. Finish the job. Expose the laundering. Take down the players. Elysium gets clean funding. I get a Nobel nod. Win-win. Extortion, plain. He knew the body swap's underbelly. Experimental, illegal without FDA blessing. Funded by the very syndicate I aim to torch. Refuse? He pulls the plug, reverses the transfer, dumps me back in a vegetative Hargrove husk. Play along. Leverage. Fine, I growled. But Tommy first. Amateur hour. Kane's the head. Cut it off, the rest dies. We hung up, tension coiling like a spring. Crow, cunning bastard, playing God with stolen souls. Powerful. With senators in pocket and patents stacking like poker chips. Yeah. But vulnerable. The drive had dirt on him too. Kickbacks from Kane for tech consulting. Weak blurred. Armored SUVs leased undershell core. Drones scouting the cabin perimeter. Elena stonewalled with more lies. She packed a bag by Friday, tears streaking mascara. You're not him anymore, Harlan. Whoever you are. Door slam echoed like a gunshot. Controversial decision. Let her go. Safer that way. Or cowardice. Jury's out. Tommy arrived Saturday, chopper whirring over the pines like an omen. Solo, as promised. No entourage, just a briefcase of proposals. We toured the grounds, Voss's patter easy, solar arrays, smart home bullshit masking the trank launchers in the tree lane. Lunch on the deck, grilled salmon, Adirondack views, where he spilled more. Kane's alive, holed up in Florida, pulling strings via proxies. Guy's a relic, but connected. You want in? It's family. Family. The word detonated. Like you treated ours? I said, casual, testing. He paused, fork midway. What? Blakely. The crash. You framed him. For Kane. Silence stretched, broken only by lake waves lapping. Then his face cracked. Not guilt, but calculation. Who the hell are you? Truth time? No. The trank dart whispered from the woods, silent as sin. It hit his neck, eyes widening in shock as he slumped over the railing. Bastard. Voss. I dragged him inside, Ruiz's team materializing like shadows. Zip-tied to a chair in the panic room, monitors flickering confession cam. He came to groggy, spitting curses. You drugged me? What the fuck, man? Confess, I said, Voss's voice steady. Phone recording, lights harsh. The crash. The frame. Kane's orders. He laughed, manic. You're insane. Blakely drove. Drunk asshole. I played the audio from the drive. His voice, pre-crash, begging Kane. I'll handle the books. Just keep the heat off. His face drained. Where'd you? Doesn't matter. Talk. Or Elena gets the next leak. Your wife? She knows about the mistress and shady side? Bluff. He had no wife. Post-divorce slobbery. But it landed. Sweat beaded. Okay, fuck. Fine. I panicked. Kane dosed me. Said drive or die. I swerved. But Blake, he took the wheel after, tried to fix it. Cops came. I panicked. Blamed him. The money? Kane's cut. I had to. Tears now, snot mixing. He was supposed to walk. Plea deal. But you. Whoever you are. This ends bad. I leaned in close. For you? Yeah. The confession poured. Details, dates, the fentanyl-laced shipment that killed the semi-driver. Kane's compound chords, even Crow's cut. 2 hours, raw and rambling. Enough for ruin. But as Ruiz prepped the extract, chopper inbound to a safe house for handover to feds, Tommy lunged, chair tipping, a hidden shank glinting. Prison wisdom dies hard. It grazed my arm, Voss's arm, hot slice. Chaos. Grunts wrestling, a shot from Ruiz's silenced piece into the ceiling. Tommy stilled, pleading. Blake? That you? Holy shit, the swap. Crow told me. You're in Voss's skin. Brother, please. The word shattered. Brother. Blood called, even poisoned. Controversial. Let him bleed out? No. Mercy was the lie I'd told myself in green. Instead, I nodded to Ruiz. Bag him. Delivered to the DA. Anonymously. As they hauled him, semi-conscious, to the bird, my phone buzzed. Crow, poetic. But sloppy. Kane knows. He's coming for you. The line went dead. Adrenaline crashed, wound throbbing. Tommy gone, for now. But the web tightened. Revenge's first act, done. Cost. My last tether to humanity, frayed to threads. Back in the city, stitches from a discreet dock, Elena's number blocked. Voss's life hummed on. Meetings, deals, but Blakely's fire raged. Came next. The ghost who started it all. The wound from Tommy's shank was superficial, a pink line fading under Voss's tailored shirts, but it festered in my head like untreated lead poisoning. Every mirror glance reminded me. This face wasn't mine. These hands hadn't hauled the rebar that built Dad's legacy. They were Harlan's, soft from keyboards and keynotes, now stained with the digital blood of leaks I'd fired off post-confession. TMZ broke it Sunday. Construction air in embezzlement probe, audio shocker. Tommy's mugshot trended, Dad's old firm in freefall, hedge fund shares tanking. Kane's proxies scrambled, but the feds swarmed. Warrants, subpoenas, the whole circus. I watched from Voss's Soho perch, scotch in hand, the city a glittering lie below. Satisfaction? Fleeting, sour. Tommy lawyered up in a Manhattan holding cell, pleading not guilty, but the tape was dynamite. He'd flip on Kane soon enough. Rats always do. But Crow? Silent. No gloating call, no threat. That unnerved more than the blade. Ruiz checked in Monday. Voice gravel over burner. Bird landed clean. DA's got your ghost. Package. They're tracing the Russians. You good? Good as a swapped soul gets. I hung up, then hit the drive's deeper folders. Kane's file. Ex-Marine. Pittsburgh born like me. Rose through Dad's ranks in the 90s boom. Big projects, bigger bribes. Mom's cancer hit 15. That's when he ghosted. Debts to Russian mob for experimental treatments that didn't pan out. Lies. He'd pivoted to laundering, using construction shells to wash cartel cash through luxury condos in Brooklyn and Miami. Tommy. Recruited post-college, groomed as the clean face. The crash. Kane's lesson to Tommy for skimming, but when I took the wheel, literally, the frame stuck. I became the scapegoat, Dad's silence bought with promises of stability. Deeper. Photos of Kane at Mom's funeral, lurking in the back, eyes on me like a hawk. Had he known? Whispered to Tommy to bury me deeper. Rage spiked, hot, and unfiltered. Controversial urge. Fly south, storm the compound, guns blazing. Voss's resources tempted. Private jet on standby. Arsenal in the cabin's vault. But no. Smarter. Infiltrate. Kane's world was galas and golf, not gutter fights. Play the entrepreneur, lure him out. Elysium offered the hook. I called Crow Tuesday. Voss's tone clipped. Update. His office, sterile chrome and red hook, felt like a trap when I arrived. Guards at the door, pods humming empty. Tommy's singing. Crow asked, pouring espresso, steam veiling his smirk. Like a canary. Kane's exposed. He nodded, unfazed. Expected. Victor's a survivor. He'll bolt to the Caymans, regroup. But you, Harlan, or Blakely, you're the wild card. That confession? Sloppy OPSEC. Feds sniffing Elysium now. Blame game. Your funding's the stink. Kickbacks from Kane. Wanting to leak that too. His eyes iced. Touché. But consider, reverse the swap. Back to your old skin. Charges dropped. Manslaughter becomes self-defense, with Tommy's tape as corroboration. Or stay Voss. Finish the play. Kane's compound has a gala this weekend. Philanthropy bullshit for Key's orphans. You're invited. As donor. Trap or opportunity. Debatable. What's the angle? Get close. Extract his flight plan, offshore codes. We torch the accounts, he starves. Crow's smile returned, predatory. Power vacuum. Elysium rises. I took the invite, gold embossed, Voss's name in script. But doubts gnawed. Crow's moxie, the neural echoes worsening. Flashes hit random. Blakely's mom's hospice bed, Voss's overdose haze. Therapy? Voss's shrink canceled on travel. Elena's texts piled up, blocked but persistent. Harlan, please. I know it's not you. Heart twisted. Controversial to ghost her, but ghosts don't love. Jet south Thursday, Ruiz's team in tow, 3 shadows posing as security. The compound, paradise as prison, white sand sprawl on Islamorada Key, guarded by palms and patrols. Galleon's Yacht Club, the gala spot, crystal chandeliers over infinity pools, air thick with salt and Chanel. I arrived in linen slacks, Voss's Rolex ticking like a bomb, Elena's absence a hollow in my gut. Kane was there, center vortex, silver fox in a Panama hat, laughing with politicos over caviar. Taller than photos, presence like gravity, eyes scanning the crowd with marine precision. Our eyes met across the deck. He excused himself, gliding over like oil on water. Mr. Voss. Pleasure. Handshake firm. Calloused. Real work under the polish. Elysium's buzz is deafening. Mind swaps? Revolutionary? Or hubris? I matched his gaze, Blakely's steel under Voss's silk. Depends who's swapping. You strike me as a man who's traded more than bodies. Chuckle low. Philosophical. Whiskey. Poolside bar, ice clinking. He probed my suicide dodge, Elysium's backers. I parried, dropping Tommy's name casual. Hargrove boy. Talented, but green. Shame about the family drama. Kane's mask slipped, fractional. Families break us all. Lost a brother in Nam, fragged by his own. You. Betrayed. Simple. True. He nodded, sage. Then you understand. Tommy. Pawn. Like your vessel was. Vessel. He knew the swap. Crow's leak, or Tommy's panic call. But pawns promote. Join me. Elysium plus my networks? Empires. Temptation. Power absolute. Revenge baked in. Controversial. Ally with the devil to gut him? Or strike now? Ruiz is signal buzzed. Drones ready. Trank from the shadows. No. I said, standing. Empires fall. His hand shot out, grip iron on my wrist. Careful, boy. Ghosts bite back. I wrenched free, heart slamming. Signal sent. Dart from the mangroves. Silent, true. Kane staggered, eyes bulging. You? Chaos erupted. Guests screaming, security swarming. I bolted for the jetty, Ruiz covering. Suppressed pops dropping guards non-lethal. Kane slumped, team zip-tying him amid the palms. Extraction swift. Speedboat to a charter, airborne by midnight. Interrogation en route. Gulfstream's leather swallowing his curses. Woke him with smelling salts, bound to a jump seat. Victor Kane. End of the line. Confusion first, then fury. Voss. What the crow? Worse. Blakely Hargrove. Ring a bell. Recognition dawned, slow horror. The crash kid. Thought you rotted. Swapped. Reborn. Now confess, like your boy. He spat, defiant. Tommy framed you? Self-preservation. You were collateral. Took the wheel, played hero. But the laundering? My design. Russians needed clean cash. Your dad's firm was perfect. Mom's treatments? Cover. I bled it dry. Mom. The secret cracked open. Kane hadn't just skimmed. He denied her the trial drug, experimental cocktail from his mob ties, to fund the schemes. Cost too much, he sneered. She was terminal anyway. Rage blinded. Fist connected, Voss's knuckles splitting on his jaw. Controversial. Beat him? Yeah. For her. For the semi-driver. Blood speckled the carpet, no gore fest, but enough to break him. Tapes rolled, full spill, accounts, names, the hit on Voss to silence the probe. Crow's complicity, even the dosed drink that sparked the crash. By keys fade in the porthole, Kane was pulp, broken, bargaining. Cut me loose. Immunity. I own judges. Tempting, I lied. But ghosts settle scores. Handed him to Ruiz's Fed contact. Anonymous drop in Miami. Dawn raid scripted. Jet north, adrenaline crash. Kane cuffed. Empire crumbling via my leaks. IRS swarming Caymans. Interpol on Russians. Tommy. Already flipping. Deal cut for lesser counts. But victory hollow. Crow waited at Teterboro, limo idling. Well played. But loose ends. The limo ride from Teterboro felt like a funeral procession, Manhattan spires mocking me through tinted glass, symbols of the power I'd toppled, yet the cage closing in. Crow sat opposite, legs crossed, sipping from a flask like we'd just closed a merger. Kane singing sweeter than your brother. Accounts frozen, players scattering. Elysium's golden. I rubbed the phantom scar on Voss's arm, neural echoes firing. Mom's last breath, Tommy's courtroom smirk, Kane's bloodied grin. Your mess too. Kickbacks on tape. Feds'll want you. He waved it off, casual. Plausible deniability. Donors, not donors, you know the game. His eyes bored in, obsidian again. But you? The swap's unstable. Echoes worsening. Voss's suicidal ideations bleeding through. Finish this. Reverse transfer. Back to Blakely, clean slate. Tommy's testimony clears you. Self-defense, the works. Or. Voss's voice, but Blakely's snarl. Stay? But the glitches? They'll consume you. Paranoia, dissociation. Elena called me, worried. Said you're not you. Elena. The name gut-punched. I'd blocked her, but she'd wormed through. To Crow, of all snakes. Controversial flood, call her? Beg forgiveness in this stolen skin. Or sever, let Voss's ghost haunt alone? Limo halted at Red Hook. warehouse looming like judgment. Inside, pods glowed, techs bustling like acolytes. Crow led to the neural suite, monitors beeping my, our, vitals. Decision time, gentlemen. Blakely's life, freedom maybe, but Dad's empire ash, Tommy caged but alive, Mom's grave cold. Voss's? Wealth, isolation, a woman who saw through the mask. Neither fit. Rage crested. This was the betrayal's core, not Tommy's frame, not Kane's greed, but the swap itself. Crow hadn't saved me. He'd weaponized the break. You first, I said, nodding to a pod. Confess. On tape. Elysium's funding, Kane's dirty dime. His smile faltered. Bold, but unwise. Ruiz's team breached thin, silent, coordinated. Fixers in black, suppressed weapons trained. Feds inbound. I lied, Voss's calm masking the bluff. Your play. Crow lunged for an alarm. Dart took him mid-stride, slumping like a puppet cut. You bastard, he wheezed, zip-tied. This ends you. Already has. Confession extracted. Full download. Elysium's illegality. Swaps on black market souls. Kane's seed money. Taped. Leaked via anonymous drop. As sirens wailed distant. Real feds. Tipped by Ruiz. I faced the pods. Reverse? Tempting. But twist loomed. Monitor flickered. Incoming feed from the Miami drop. Kane, in cuffs, smirking at interrogators. Blakely Hargrove? The kid's innocent. Took the fall for Tommy. Crash was my op. Dosed the drink to scare the boy straight. Hargrove swapped into Voss to avenge. Crow's puppet. Lies. No. Truth inverted. Kane, cornered, flipped the script. Painted me hero, himself reluctant villain. Kid's a patriot. Exposed us all. Feds bought it. Clips showed nods. Notes scribbled. My leaks backed him. Now it read as inside job, noble cause. Phone buzzed. DA's office. Mr. Hargrove? Blakely? Case dismissed. New evidence. Exculpatory. You're clear. Clear. The word echoed. Hollow. Tommy's trial fast-tracked. Kane's testimony buried him. 20 plus. No plea. Dad called next. Voice cracked. Son? God, Blake. I'm sorry. Sorry. Too late for that. But the swap? Irreversible now. Crow's systems fried in the raid, texts scattering. I was Voss, forever. Or Blakely in exile. Elena waited outside, rain sheeting her coat. Harlan Blake? Crow told me. Everything. I froze, worlds colliding. How? Doesn't matter. I see you. Both. Her hand in mine. Warm, real. Controversial choice. Pull away, or embrace the fracture. We walked into the storm, feds swarming the warehouse behind. Kane, vanished in the chaos, slipped custody, ghost again. Tommy rotted, Crow faced trials. Me? Reborn ambiguous. Voss's fortune to rebuild, Elena's hand to tether. Happy. Debatable. Vengeance sated, but at what cost? The man in the mirror still hunted, echoes whispering. Who are you now? The trained stranger, Crow, unmasked, had known. Volunteering broke me deeper, but remade me lethal. Life's ledger balanced, ink still wet. And in the downpour, Elena's kiss tasted like absolution or damnation. You decide.